Evaluating expressions, Lesson B notes example number 7. We're going to evaluate the following expressions. This problem is extremely similar to 3 and 4. It's just a little bit more difficult because there's a lot more negatives involved. Now I want you to look at example A. Example A has just negative x. There's no number. Now if you remember when we talked about coefficient, variable, and constant earlier in the lesson, if there's no number in front of a variable, that number is a 1. So go ahead and squeeze a 1 in there. And as a matter of fact, let's do that for all of them. For B, I'm going to put a 1 between the negative sign and the W. For C, I'm going to put it in front of the B. Now D is a special one. Not only do I need it here in front of the X, but I also need one out front. For E, I'm going to put a 1 between the negative sign and the R. For F, inside the parentheses, I'm going to put it between the negative sign and the H. And then again, outside the parentheses, I'm going to need another one. Now, multiplying by -1 means you're taking the opposite of a number. So 5 times -1 is -5. 20 times -1 is -20. So multiplying by a negative means you're going to have the opposite of a number. So this is where you need to be really careful. All right, again, wherever you see a variable, you put parentheses. Wherever you see a variable, we're going to put parentheses. So for A, I'm going to have -1, parentheses, plus 3, parentheses. For B, -1, parentheses, minus 2, parentheses. Now I can plug the values in. For A, for X, I'm going to plug in a 2. And for the Y, I'm going to plug in the 6. And now I follow my order of operations. Following my order of operations, I'm going to multiply each of those. So let's put our squiggly line there. The only reason I put that squiggly line there is so you recognize that the 3 is positive. Right, so the opposite of 2, so -1 times 2, remember, multiplying by -1 means I take the opposite. So the opposite of +2 is -2. And then 3 times 6 is 18. Because they're both positive, it would be a positive 18. Last step, combine these numbers. The signs are different, so I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. 18 minus 2 is 16. Since 18 is the larger number, it will be positive 16. So really, this is not any different than example 3 or 4, except now multiplying by -1 means we'll be taking the opposite of a number. All right, let's look at B. For the W, I'm going to plug in -6. And for the T, I'm going to plug in 12. Okay, so -6 for the W and 12 for the T. Start by doing my multiplication. Squiggly line there, and again to put the squiggly line, it's because that's a -2. All right, -1 times -6. In other words, what is the opposite of -6? The opposite of -6 is +6. 2 times 12 is 24. There is one negative, so that means this will be a -24. Now I combine these numbers. Those signs are different. That's a +6 and a -24. So I'm going to subtract. 24 minus 6 is 18. Since 24 is the larger number, it's going to be -18. So again, plug your values in, multiply, and then add or subtract. Go ahead. I want you to do C on your own and E on your own. and then I will be back to check them. Do not do D or F, just do C and E. Again, do not do D or F yet, just do C and E. C and E is very similar to A and B. So try C and E on your own.